We'll just give it a couple seconds here. Good morning, everybody. Diego Martinez, Waking Up California, candidate for governor of California. I'd like to welcome everybody Thursday morning. We have a lot going on in the state. We have a lot of changes that just happened. We have a lot of laws that just got passed that a lot of us don't even know about. Being informed about what's going on, what our legislation is signing, who's signing them, where do they stand is very important because those are the people that we elected into office. So we really should be informed on what's going on. A lot of people don't know, special election is coming up September 14th. So where are we at with that? We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about SB 152, which got signed July 1st. We'll also talk about SB 9 and SB 10 and why that affects most of us here in the state of California. Also open it up so that if anybody wants to join, they are more than welcome to join and put their comments or even come live and discuss any topic that's going on in the state of California at this moment. We have a lot of stuff that just happened. A lot of people jumping in the special election right now, right? It just seems like everybody and their grandmother in the kitchen sink wants to jump in the last minute. And that's fine. We could talk about that. We could talk about the pros and cons about that. I want to say thank you to everybody who's joining us throughout California and outside of California on Facebook. If you're out there, thank you for joining us. Again, I had one question this morning that I'm going to answer. We'll get right into this. We'll talk about where do you guys want to start, right? Because I got to ask this question. I just read it between Spanish and English, and it said, if elected governor of California, are you for Howard Trump? Those MAGA woman loves them. Oh, that's pretty good. Thank you. We're going to talk about, the question was, if I become governor, am I opposed auditing the state of California? And will I run California and cut some of the fat? Well, the answer to that is we've been talking about it for a long time. Yes, the first thing you got to do to California is you have to audit each and every single department in the state of California because we don't really have a real budget. Our budget has never been balanced. So the first thing that we need to do is go back and actually audit California with a third party. I don't want anybody from the Republican Party or the Democratic Party of California doing this, and I don't want anybody who's in Sacramento doing this because they're going to cover their own behinds. They're going to fake on the numbers. They're going to lie to make it look like like our budget's been balanced, but it hasn't. Our budget's so out of whack that we actually need to trim it down. We actually need to run California firmer and quit wasteful spending. And we're doing that all over the place. We need to lower taxes. Well, how do you do that when all this money is going out? We have got to trim the fat. We have got to trim the wasteful spending on what's going on in California. Just like when I walked into some of the businesses that I recovered, the first thing you do is you go and you do an audit. And what you mean by an audit is you actually look at the books, you look where the money's going, where it's coming from, and what we are spending. Well, we need to do the same thing with California. We need to fine line California, bring it down, and actually run the programs that are needed with the budget that's really needed. So we need to balance the budget for the state of California. Yes, very important dates that just happened, which would have been June 16th, was very important because that's when the budget needs to be in front of the governor's desk. And July 1st, another very important day, because that's when the governor has to have the budget signed. If those things aren't done, the state government shuts down until there is a budget that we can actually do. Well, you have to have a beginning and an end point. You have to know where the money's going, how much is actually going into good, and how much is being wasted. How do you do that? Well, can you actually trust the previous administration to actually give you all the facts? Yes, the book said this is what the budget is. This is where the money's coming from. But the reality of it is you can't trust that because we're so far in debt that you actually have to go back. You have to fine stream it. You have to cut the fat off, and you got to get a solid audit of what's going on. Somebody on the other side here said, first, let's make California safe, please. California being safe is our number one priority, right? Everybody being safe and everybody being able to feel safe has to be a number one priority. But when you look at priorities, you have water, homeless, safety, education, taxes, jobs. You have about 10 number one things that need to be addressed yesterday that the administration today isn't addressing. We're going to get to some of those issues. We're going to get right into some of those issues here in a second. But we have to talk about the importance of SB 152 that just got signed, and why does that affect the California people? Does anybody even know what SB 152 is? Do we know why Gavin Newsom is suing the Secretary of State? All that stuff boils down to a fair election, special election for voters. So we had talked about this before, and everybody says, hey, the elections are rigged, right? Everybody says the elections are rigged. And I always kept saying this is probably going to be the most fair election that you're going to see. Well, I'm going to actually have to say this. I lied. Because what should have been a really fair election just turned on us. Okay, so how did that turn on us? SB 152 is actually designed to actually alter the outcome of the special election. What happens here is when SB 152 got signed, our time collapsed. So there's a special election September 14th. Everybody's aware of that, I hope. If not, September 14th is a special election for a new governor of the state of California. So what does that mean? That means that we are in July 8th, August 15th, August 20th, you're going to start getting your mail-in ballots. So how does SB 152 affect all that? SB 152 was signed so that they can move the date, the fastest date that they could. So July 1st, it got signed, September 14th, 74 days for an election. So if you're a new candidate trying to run, you basically don't have enough time to get out and even talk to people. You better spend a lot of money on advertisement. You better go out there and you better figure it out because you only have really 30 days to get in front of people. If you're jumping in the race today, tomorrow, you might know the people on your base because you might be known, but you're not going to reach out to anybody else because they don't know you, and you only have 30 days to get out and get to your name known. It took your timeline, it shut it in half. So because your timeline's in half, now you have to be ready to go. So if you jumped in last week, good luck to you. Hopefully you can get your name out there. We all keep saying, one Republican, everybody get behind. Well, that's great and dandy. That's another thing that Gavin Newsom did. He's shortened down the time so less people will oppose him. That works in two folds. One, the more people that are running in the office will pull some of both sides of the party, right? It'll replace. It'll pull some up from the Democrat Party. It'll pull some from the Republican Party. I was on a live last night, and I said, hey, you know what? It's kind of funny. We're all on Instagram, but we're all going after the same people. We're all talking on the same programs. We're all getting the same people. But is anybody going outside of that bubble trying to get their base to grow? Because if you have 60, just a number out here, 60 Republicans going after the 22% Republicans, we have got to bring people from other areas to attract so that we can do this. Well, if you only got 30 days to run for office, can you really do that in 30 days? Yes, there are Democrats who do not like Gavin Newsom. There are Democrats who will get off this and vote for somebody else, right? But that's how they're going to cheat on this election. So if people said if this election could be rigged, there it is. They already did it. Now we have to deal with it and we have to overcome it. So Right now, if you're a California voter, you need to start paying attention to what's going on. You need to actually start listening to people's policies. Forget about name recognition. Forget about the most popular person, and actually start thinking about real solutions for what we have going on. Because if we don't, we're going to make a mistake. If you don't, you're going to make a mistake, and your vote counts. We have a lot of stuff that we have to fix. We talked a little bit about safety, right? And you have people talking about defunding the police. Well, some of these career politicians that are now running sign laws to help defund the police. Some of these people didn't vote on certain areas that affected the outcome of some stuff. Because if you don't vote, it might as well be a yes vote for the other side. All votes count. Yet our assemblymen decide not to vote on certain laws because they don't want it down on the record that they voted yes or no on that. But actually, when they didn't vote, they voted for whatever that proposition was. We have laws like SB 145 that came in effect that affect each and every single one of us. Let's talk about law and order, because I keep getting this message saying we have got to be safe. Law and order is very important. Accountability is even more important. We have got to keep our police officers on the ground. We have got to give them the funding that they need so they can hire the right people. I like it when everybody keeps saying more and more training. Yet people don't know that police officers have had one of the most training, more efficient trainings than anybody else. We have also got to get better quality of people who want to be police officers. So we have got to bring law and order. You have got to change laws like Proposition 47 and 109. You have to get rid of those so that you can actually feel safer. So there is a repercussion for what's going on. The Attorney General of the state needs to go and prosecute district attorneys that will not file charges against a criminal. We need to be tougher on some of the laws. We need to be a little tougher on felons caught with a firearm, instead of letting that be the first thing that gets dropped off. So when we talk about being safe, we have got to take it from one extreme to the other. We have got to start putting more police on the ground where they can walk neighborhoods. But then we have to be able to protect the police officers from getting bottles, water, disrespected or hit or kicked or anything. There's got to be a consequence for every action that's taken, which that's one of the problems that we're having right now. They are not doing that. So you break the law, it's like really no big deal. So we have got to remove these propositions that have been put into law so that we can actually help feel safer and bring law and order back. Our state deserves so much better than what it's getting. Our state deserves people who actually care about the state, not their publicity, not their bank account, but the state and the people of the state of California. You guys hear me say this over and over again. I work for the California people. Last night, I was on a show, I was on a program, and after I got off, I got criticized because they asked a question, and I said, my personal beliefs matter but shouldn't matter when you're doing a decision, when you're following the laws of the state. And I got beat up on it afterwards because they didn't like that answer because it wasn't what they wanted to hear. And here it is. If I believe that a law isn't right, I'm going to campaign for us to change the law. I'm going to campaign and I'm going to put it and I'm going to let the California people decide whether they want to change the law or not. It's not my decision. Because if I did that, I'm no better than Gavin Newsom. And any governor that will tell you, or any candidate that will tell you, I will go in there and I will change that today, isn't the person for California, because they only care about themselves. They don't care about the California people. Because here's the reality of it is, we voted to keep the death penalty in place. Gavin Newsom reversed it. Did he care what the California people said? No, he didn't. So how would I be any different if I did that? If there's a law on the books that I don't agree with, you will hear it and I will say it flat out. I will flat out say it like this. Here, I don't believe in this. We need to change the law. Write it up. But at the end of the day, the California people decide what we change and what we don't, not the governor. That's called a dictator. And if anybody believes that I shouldn't have the job because of that, then you're mistaken, because you shouldn't let somebody take the job that will make their own decisions and their own personal beliefs, the law of the state of California, because that's not what the California people want. We want somebody in office that will listen and will work for the California people. That's both sides, all parties, all shapes, all sides, all colors. We're tired about a dictator. Yet people want me to be one. It's not going to work. I work for the California people, and that's everybody in California. We talked about law and order. Let's talk about our education and our education values, because that's another problem that we have in the state of California. Our education is probably ranked 48 when we started before COVID-19. We're probably down to 50 right now. We're probably one of the worst schools around. Even at 48, let's call it the worst schools in the United States. People keep talking about school choice. Am I for school choice? Yes. You know what? I believe we should be able to pick the best education for our kids. 100%. But why is it that a bad neighborhood gets bad teachers and we don't worry about that neighborhood? No, stop. Every California kid deserves the best education possible. It doesn't matter where you live or what school you go to. We should strive that our school system is within the top 10 of the United States within the next 3 years. Well, all that sounds very good. And how do we do that? Well, we go and we put the school board in front of us, and the school board and the school unions in front of us, and we let them know what we expect from them and what we expect to be taught in our schools. Now, I want everybody to understand this. There are some really good teachers out there, and I have nothing against teachers. The only problem with teachers is that their hands are being tied and they're being forced to teach certain things that they don't want to teach, that they're not qualified to teach. So we address it at the root. This is about real California solutions for real California problems. In our education, it's a problem. It's in the dumps. And I'm not blaming teachers. I'm blaming the people ahead of them who are supposed to oversee them, who are supposed to tell them what to teach. That's where our problem is. I'm blaming politicians who've been in office who have done absolutely nothing for our kids and their education. Here's how we work it. We get the teachers, the board of teachers in front of us, school board. We get teachers union in front of us. And we say no more CRT training. No more telling us I didn't say I got beat up last night. I said I got talked about my policies towards one end. I didn't get beat up at all last night. I actually liked the interview. It was pretty good. I just didn't like that somebody doesn't agree that thinks I should be a dictator. That's all I said about last night. But we get the school boards and the unions, and if they don't do what we want, we dismiss them. When somebody goes on strike, a union goes on strike, you don't have to renegotiate to bring them back. They quit their jobs. So the school union flat out tells us we are not going to do what you ask. Great. We accept your resignation because the California people are the ones who pay their wages, not anybody else. So when you look at all this and you look at what you're looking at, we can change education with a simple meeting with teachers, the board, the school boards, and the unions of the school teachers, and sit them down to either do what we need them to do or we get them out of the way and we start over. Because our education is number one, and it should be. School choice shouldn't be a problem. School choice should always be available, but each school should be the best choice. Your neighborhood school should be the best choice for your kids to go to. We have got to quit pandering and saying school choice. Yeah, that sounds great. How many kids can a school take? So when all those good schools are taken, what about the rest of the kids? Then you either got to homeschool them, charter school them, or what? Send them to private school, or they get the crappy schools? Why don't we change the school system from the beginning? Yes, school choice, not a problem. But make every school accountable for what they're doing, what they're teaching, and make them the best that they can be. Doesn't that make more sense than saying the money will follow the kid? The money can follow the kid. But no kid should ever be left behind. You guys heard that. But when I say left behind, they should never have to go to a bad school. Kids should get the best education possible because you and me, the California taxpayers, are paying for that education. If you homeschool your kids, you should be able to get a tax write-off at the end of the year for the school services that you never got. Because that's what you do. You just got to go in there and be able to prove that you homeschool your kids, or they were in a public school, or even the charter school will actually register them, and actually they will get paid for that kid being there. So we have to look at all this stuff. We can't just say school choice. There's got to be a plan with it. So if there's no more good schools, what happens? So the rest of the kids get to go to a bad school. Why don't we fix the whole education system in whole and make it right so that every kid has an opportunity to get the best education possible? So racial tensions at school needs to stop. We can't be telling our kids that white people are less than black people or Mexican people or any other people. We're all the same. We're all Californians. We're all here for the same reason. We're all trying to make a better living. We're all trying to make a better life for ourselves. We should have that opportunity to be able to do that. I'm going to keep reading some of the other stuff that I got told here, so just give me 1 second, guys. Like I said, I didn't get beat up yesterday, and I didn't feel harassed. What I felt from last night was that when I got off, I got basically told, if you believe in this, then you should change the law. I don't believe that that's the right thing to do, because I believe that, again, the governor of California works for the California people, and if you want to change something, you can be an advocate for that law to change. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to let the California people vote on it and do what they want as governor of California. I think that's a way better approach. Unfortunately, great minorities of the teachers are liberals, are teaching CRT. There will be no more CRT, and there will be no more transgender kids playing in female sports, because that's not right. We talk about the physicality of it. We talk about the hormones difference between a boy and a girl. For those reasons, there shouldn't be. Again, I'll say it again. If people want their transgender children to play sports and school boards want it to happen, then build a sport where they're competing with their own peers, not where they have an advantage over somebody else, because that's no different than taking steroids in high school and having that advantage over. George, I'm actually going to tell you that I almost agree with you on what you just said. Our elections are rigged. I just kind of explained how they're trying to make this election unfair because of where SB 152 just got signed, where our time limit are different. So everybody be ready. August 15th to the 20th, you're going to start getting your mail-in ballots. So anybody who's starting to run right now, they got about 30 days to go, get out there and get known. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. Exactly, we're paying taxes. These are taxes for these schools and colleges, but colleges pick more out of state kids because they pay more. So we got to work on that too. You know, we have California colleges that are bringing in kids from other countries and other states to come here, but we need to fix that in itself. I'm against critical race theory. We've talked about that already. That will no longer be taught in our schools. Sexuality, and what I mean by sexuality is not sex ed. What we used to be taught, this is a boy, this is a girl, this is what happens when they unite, that's how a baby's born. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is where a teacher or a counselor sitting at school telling your little boy that he needs to be a little girl, or that vice versa, right? Somebody wants to come on the live, so we're going to let him in. We let everybody in all the time, so I just go ahead and approve that. So come on in if you want to join us. Julius, how are you, buddy?
All is well, sir. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too, man. I just wanted to hop on real quick. I watched your live stream with Anomaly, so he's a good friend of mine. Yeah, that was a good conversation, man. I just, not to try to sound like a sensitive person, because I'm not really, but I thought it was amazing to see how, and not amazing in a good way, but like the fact that folks were not saying nothing about Anthony Trimino, but when you hopped on, they just kept getting on you for no reason. And I'm like, dude, this guy has policies, whether you agree or disagree, he has a policy he's trying to get out, and all you guys are talking about is how much he looks like Alex Jones. I mean, I don't know, man. I just thought it was kind of messed up. And I was like, man, you got to listen to this dude. You know, you may not like everything, but at least listen to everything.
Here's the catch, Julius. I didn't mind any of that. I actually like people getting on me and saying, this doesn't work or that. What I did mind was when I got off, somebody said, you know, you say you're pro-life, which I am. I'm pro-life. I'm pro-adoption. Everybody knows that. But I also said this. I will follow the law of the state of California. Because as a governor, that's what you have to do. Doesn't mean that I agree with the law. What it means is that I have to be able to go and campaign to change the law. Because if I just go in there and just write a thing and say, hey, this is the way it is from now on, I'm no different than Gavin Newsom. So we bitch about Gavin Newsom talking about the death penalty, that he took it off the table. We voted for it, he took it off, right? Am I any different if I did that?
So So for me, I'm like very pro-life. I mean, like I'm pro-life. I'm like radical pro-life. If I was governor, I would abolish Planned Parenthood, or if I would just reform it to where I would help out women. Like, so let's say, for example, God forbid, a woman gets raped, right, or incest, molestation, or whatever. What I would do is, rather than giving the woman the legal privilege to abort the baby, I would help that woman carry the baby to term for the 9 months, and in that 9 months, do like a mentorship with other women who've been through that, and so mentor her and educate her on the life of a baby, conception, all that stuff. Educate her so that when the 9 months come, she can adopt or she can be a mother. You know what I mean? That's what I would do when it comes to abortion. That's why I'm very pro-life. I get what you're saying when it comes to following the law, but at the same time, I mean,
Now, let me ask you this,
laws,
Julius.
but if we have laws that we disagree with and we follow those laws, wouldn't that make us go along with abortion?
No, it wouldn't. It actually put us in a place where we could actually put the law back on the table and let the California people decide. Because as governor, you can't be a dictator. That's no different than what we have right now. So to me is, yes, I'm pro-life. I adopted my little girl. We all know that. But I have to be a fighter for law and order, and I have to be able to go out there and fight for us to change the law, not just change the law. Do you follow what I'm saying? How about letting all and I always said this about Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood should be Planned Preventhood. They should be working to prevent this from happening. So we can work with Planned Parenthood to actually make it turn around and actually be Planned Preventhood. Not what it is right now. And I agree with that, right? But what I also agree with is California people are the bosses of what happens in California, not the governor. I can be an advocate. I can have you be an advocate with me. Hey, we're changing the law. Please vote this way, right?
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, yes, I will be a advocate for what I believe in, but I will not just go change the law because my personal feeling says you need to, because that's not what a real leader does. A real leader actually sits there and listens to what the people want. And that's what we're missing right now in California. If Gavin Newsom listened to what we wanted, we would have been open. We'd have better schools. Our water wouldn't be getting dumped in the ocean. We have border security. We wouldn't be a sanctuary city or state.
Okay. Right. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that we have, when it comes to abortion, there are laws to follow when it comes to abortion. But let's say you become governor, you listen to us. What we decide, what we want to do to change that law, that's what you're based on is we the people.
Yes.
Am I correct on that?
That's correct. So people take that the wrong way, and I guess I don't explain it quite right, because I believe that we the people should be running the state, not the guy up here, because we're the one paying their salary, right? We always talk the government works for California people. Well, they don't work for us if they just go and change the laws however they want. They work for us when the California people say this is what we want, and we're going to do it because we all voted it in, because the majority of us in California want this.
So do you think that my vision of Planned Parenthood is too radical to abolish it altogether?
No, I respect I respect everybody's opinion. See, and I will listen to everybody's opinion. And we'll put it out and let the California people be able to vote on it.
So then, okay, now let me ask you this. You're saying that they listen to the people. If the people said, Diego, we want to keep abortions, we want women to have abortions, and let's just say, hypothetically speaking, there's a majority that wanted to keep abortions legal, would you then pass that law to keep it legal based on the people? I think that's where the conflict is sitting with most people. It's like, you're listening to the people, which is fine because we are the employers, you're the employee. But if they said we want the abortion and majority rules, would you pass the law and say, well, majority rules, guess what, kill babies?
It's not that. I wish it was that simple, Julius, but it's not, because you got so many things that I'm against with what you just said. So it's not that simple. You have to be able to make sure that the law is written in the right way, which they're not right now. You know, you have Nancy Pelosi who wants to kill babies after they're born. right? To me, that's against the law. To me, the mom and the dad need to go to the mom, the dad, and the doctor need to go to jail, and any nurse who helped that happen. That's murder. Do you follow what I'm saying? So we have to write the laws to where they make sense for everybody. So when you go out there to vote, you actually know what you're voting for, right? It's not just, hey, we're just going to open up abortions. No, it's not that. So the law needs to be written the right way to make sense for everybody so everybody can make an intelligent decision. Now, I'm just like you. I'm pro-life. I don't ever want to see a kid get killed, right? You don't ever want to see that.
Right. But then what happens when the majority does rule and the law becomes that it's legal to have an abortion? Like, what do you do as a governor then?
Well, we deal with that at that moment because I don't have that in front of me right now. Thank God I don't. But when that happens, we address it. Okay? First of all, you don't let a law come in that is morally wrong. And what I mean by that is when somebody writes this abortion law, like they were trying to change it right now, right? A kid could be fully right in front of you and you can kill it. That's murder. So you don't allow things like that to even get to the ballot because things like that aren't even, I can't even tell you what I feel about that right now. But
I mean, I'm asking questions not to advocate for abortion. I'm just saying what happened in that sense. I told you I'm pro-life all the way across the board. I think it should be abolished. I think either that or we reform it. That's always been my thing. Abolish it or reform it. So that's all I was asking you to see where you stood. I know it's hypothetical, but I'm trying to get,
Wade versus Wade was a law and it was overturned in court. So there's stuff that we can do. Okay. I don't believe that the majority of the people will vote for that law to come in. But right now there isn't a law to prevent it. Me, I'm about talking about let's build the right law to prevent it. Let's get out there and be advocates for it.
Yeah, real quick, somebody in the comments said that's not an answer. This guy Justin, I know Justin. I'm curious to know what Justin meant by that's not an answer. Was it something that I said or Diego said?
It's probably when I said I don't have to deal with that right now, so I'd rather not talk about it. But the reality is, the real answer is we work with everybody and we fix the problems that we have.
Right. And I mean, so I know I asked a hypothetical. And I know you said that, I mean, yes, we can't see what's happening in the future, whatever the case may be. But that's all I was asking as a hypothetical because I know that you don't have it in front of you, but, like, if you did, let's say right now you had it in front of you and there was a majority rule that they wanted to be a law, where do you lean on that especially in I believe it's the Senate? As like majority rules, what happens?
Actually, your lieutenant governor.
Republicans, you didn't sign it, or how do you take a stand on that?
Your lieutenant governor actually sits and runs what happens at the Senate. So they would make that decision before it got to my desk. Now the question is, would I sign it when it comes to my desk or not? Do you see what I'm saying? I don't have to sign it. And I could always veto it back saying that I don't agree with what it is. Okay.
I got you.
And that's where you make your moral decisions. Okay. That's when you sit right in front of you and you make that moral decision and you send it back. You say, no, I don't agree with this. That's when you do that. Damn it. Sorry. Till then, you can't. Okay, SB 145. Morally unright. Yet California people never got a vote on it. Right? You know SB 145, the pedophile bill? I would have never signed that.
Yeah.
I would have never signed it. That would have never made it past my desk. I would have sent it back. That would have never passed, but it passed under the administration that we have right now. But SB 640, which would help our mental health, our homeless people, hasn't been signed and it's been sitting on top of Gavin's nest for almost 3 years now. I would have signed that bill. Then you have the water rights that Donald Trump came and signed to give away the federal water rights back to the state of California so we wouldn't have to dump the 19% of water into the ocean. Gavin Newsom didn't sign that. It's still sitting on top of his desk. I would have signed that because it would have been the best for the California people. Do you see what I'm saying?
Do you think that it's possible to, even though you said that, you have to wait until that comes to your desk, or should that vote goes majority to come to your desk, do you think it's possible if you became governor to prevent that from coming to your desk and not even make that a bill? Like, is that a thing you can do?
I actually,
Like, rather than wait for it to come to your desk, you're actively trying to prevent it from coming to your desk in the first place because you're fighting for the life of the unborn.
I believe we can. I believe we can hold any bill from coming to our desk if we're advocates and we're working with both sides of the parties. Okay, you have to be able to work with both sides, and you got to be able to negotiate. You know, I've negotiated for 17 years. That's what I did for 17 years. I negotiated. So what you do is you go and you negotiate, and you become, you don't become friends, and but you become co-workers. See, because everybody at the Capitol needs to work together. Then you have more leverage of whether you can negotiate a bill to come through or not come through, get rewritten, or hold off. So a lot of that stuff is what we talk about negotiation. Is talk about having a governor who's actually involved, who's there day to day, looking at different departments and looking at what's going on, and actually understanding each department in the business that's going on, and the business is California. So can we prevent some of these laws from coming on my desk? Of course we can. We can go there and say, I see what you guys are doing here. This isn't going to work. So go back and think about it a little bit longer because it's not going to get done. So let's save us a lot of headaches and let's do this with it. All right. None of us would have voted for SB 145. That's why they didn't put it out there. Right.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
But nobody got to vote on it.
On the ballot, yeah.
No. And the worst part is nobody even heard about it. The only reason people hear about it is because people who are running for office made a big stink about it. Not because your assemblymen who are in office already said anything about it. Not because your senators said anything about it, right? Where did we all hear about it? People yelling and saying, whoa, this passed because somebody's ears were open. They were actually paying attention. So this is the stuff that we have to be transparent about. And we have to be able to let the California people know what is going on in all aspects of it. We, the people, have a lot more power and control than what they are trying to tell us and what they're trying to show us. Do you imagine this? Julius, let's talk about that abortion law that you were talking about, right? If we made it publicly known what is going on, how many people will call their senators and their assemblymen and say, hell no, you're not voting for that?
Yeah.
So when you ask how you're going to do this, that's how we're going to do it. We're going to publicize everything. Everybody's going to know everything that's going on. So there's nothing hidden. There's no backdoor sneaking around. This deal got caught in the middle of the night kind of thing. This is transparency. This is the government actually allowing you in there, the California people who voted these people in, to actually understand what's going on. That makes a huge difference on what bills come through. So you ask, can you stop these bills from happening? Yeah, that's how you do it. You make it transparent. You go on, we do it live just like we're doing right now. We let everybody in California know, hey, the Assembly's talking about doing this bill. And this is what they're planning to do. What do you guys plan to do about it?
Yeah.
Make sense?
No, I appreciate that. I actually appreciate that. Appreciate that you will make it publicized so that we do know so nothing's going on behind closed doors. That's something that does happen a lot, that, I always get told things after something is passed. And I'm just like, well, I wish I would have known that before so I could have my voice into it rather than go into the Capitol and say, hey, this is wrong, and they get too, so I don't curse, but they don't care about what I say. I'm just there to just voice my opinion. So yeah, I would appreciate that we do know these type of things, so it's not just happening while we're sleeping kind of thing. So yeah, I actually do appreciate it a lot. So real quick, I know you were talking about the immigration, and I know I heard you before, but I wanted to get it clear now. What was your stance on immigration? I know that you're against illegal immigration, but what is it that you would do to combat that from happening?
That's very that's a great question, because I get beat up on that question every day because I stand for fixing the problem. We have a big problem. 85, Ronald Reagan, probably one of the best, probably one of the worst, depending on which side of the aisle you're at, when he did his immigration reform. Everybody always calls it a direct path to citizenship, which it's not. It wasn't for me, and it wasn't for a lot of other people. I'm grateful for what Ronald Reagan did because I'm standing here, I'm able to do this, and I'm running for governor of California from an immigrant, right? So when you look at those, you're like, wow, thank God for that man that I'm able to do this. So when we look at immigration, we got to look at the whole big picture. You have a wall problem. You have a border problem. We have kids coming in here. They're getting used for human trafficking. That are coming from other countries that nobody knows what's going on with them. So you got to stop that. So you got to secure the border. You have got to build your wall. I'm an immigrant. I'm saying it. We have got to build the wall. Okay. That's not saying that we're not allowing people to come in. What that's saying is that we want people to come in the right way. Okay.
Yeah.
You still have an immigration problem here in the state of California. That's probably one of the biggest ones in the United States. Probably Texas and Arizona got us pretty close if they don't have us beat, right? You have people who are working, who are hard-working people that have been here for years. But the immigration system is so backlogged that they're waiting for their paperwork. They haven't been able to. Their time ran out. It's so expensive that they can't do it. So instead of deporting millions of people, my immigration reform program is pretty simple. And I kind of got to break it down. First of all, anybody who's been here before I went into office. So they can't just come from Arizona. They can't just come from Mexico. They can't come from anywhere, right? They've been in California. They will get a 4-year work permit. Now, what's that cost for that 4-year work permit? Let's talk about the pros and cons of it, okay? Because nobody ever breaks that down. They just say, oh, no, you're wrong. Okay, first thing is the pros. You have no more sanctuary cities, no more sanctuary states, no more free health insurance, no more free benefits for anybody who's here undocumented. But let's talk about the other pros. These people will now have a work permit where they can be here legally and be able to pay California and state taxes legally, just like everybody else. Okay? That takes the burden off the California taxpayer. What does that do? That allows California to lower the everybody's across the board, every individual's person's California taxes, because now we have more revenue coming in. So I could take a little bit from everybody and equals what we're getting right now. So you can have more money in your pocket. Those are the pros of it, all right? There's some negatives to this, right? Let's talk about some of the negatives towards it. People think, huh?
The free lunches are over.
The free lunches are over. There is no more free. So here's where it goes. Here's some of the negatives that you can see. One more positive. We actually get to do a background check on everybody who's here. So we know who's here. Right? And if they're criminals in their country, they need to go back. We don't want them here. Flat out. It also allows these people 4 years to be able to show good work history, good citizenship status, which that's them basically paying their fine for coming in here illegally. Right? Now, when you did that, now we can show that they have a situation where they earn the right to be able to apply. Not get. There's a difference, okay? Apply for a green card. What are the negatives of this? It's basically somebody says you're showing amnesty, and we're not. We're showing kindness, and we're showing somebody an opportunity, right? What are the other negatives of this? Not everybody's going to get on the program. Well, here's the bottom line. If you don't get on the program and we catch you, you get out of here. You're gone. There's no answer buts about it. Because if somebody's actually giving you an opportunity to do things right and legally, why wouldn't you do it? That means you're not abiding by the law. You need to go. You commit a felony. You commit a violent crime. You will do your time in the United States, and right after that, you will be deported. There is no answer buts about that, because now we're giving people an opportunity.
So if I understand you correctly, because you said that you wouldn't deport all the illegal, what you would do is you want to have them pay their fine for being here illegal, so it doesn't cost the taxpayer money. Somebody in the comments asked a good question, I think, when they said, if you got illegals working, paying taxes, but can't file taxes, where's all that money going?
Actually, they can't, because you get them on I-10 number or a work permit number, so they actually can't file taxes. Now, here's the tricky part about that, because there's people working on fake socials right now, and they're filing 9 dependents so that they get more money of their paycheck, and then they never file state income tax. This way, they would have to file state income tax because we have a record of them. We know who they are. So they have to file taxes, and when they get their work permit, they have to declare how many kids, how many dependents they have at that time. Okay. So they would actually have to pay state California taxes, and they can actually get a return with an I-10 number, which is the same thing as your Social Security number. Sometimes the I-10 numbers, what's that?
well, Social Security, like if they're here illegal and then you want them to pay their taxes, they're fine for being here, and then they file taxes based on what you were saying. What about their Social Security number? Like, if they have no social here, then what about that?
Okay, for the first 4 years, their money will not go into Social Security. Their money will not go into social. It's basically like the fine that they've been paying to be here illegally. Do you follow me? Once they get a green card and they get a Social Security number, then they get all the rights of every U.S. resident. Okay,
And
people.
that happens while they're still here illegally.
What's that?
And that happens while they're still here illegally.
They won't be here illegally. They'll have a California work permit. So they will pay California state taxes on their I-10 number, but they will not get any money going into Social Security benefits. Do you follow me? Once they get a green card and they get a real Social Security number, then they get all the rights, and then all their money, they'll pay just like the rest of us into Social Security. So where does that Social Security money go, right? That normal people would pay if you're here with a work permit. Well, that money needs to go back into paying back the debt that they have acquired over all these years. And what I mean by that is all the free programs. We have people in the United States right now that cannot, we have people in California that cannot afford medical insurance, right? Yet we're giving illegals or undocumented people free medical. And that's costing the California taxpayer money. We need a medical system that will work for everybody. Okay, you should have the right to medicate yourself however you want to. Medical freedom is what they call it, right? If you don't believe in going to a doctor, you shouldn't have to. Nobody should force you. But you should have the ability to have medical if you need it, and we don't. But people who are undocumented do. So this extra money that you're talking about will go into the medical system to be able to provide California people medical.
Okay, so you said the money goes back into the medical. To give Californians the medical, is that the Californians who are under the government medical, or you know what I mean? Where exactly as far as medical do you mean? Like the ones who are getting free medical?
See, nothing's free because everybody keeps using this word free. Nothing's free. Somebody's paying for it. So let's get that word free out of it. Whether you're paying for it, I'm paying for it, somebody's paying for these people to have medical. And it's usually the California taxpayer. Usually out of your checks, if you look at it, they're taken out for medical, for state medical. They take out for your benefit and they take out for state medical. Where's that state medical money go? To the services that we're allowing undocumented people to have.
Okay.
So instead of that, okay. Give me 1 second, Julian, sorry. All that money will go into a slush fund, which will, after the first year of me being in office, you file your state taxes, right? Then you're going to get a state medical card because you paid for it. It's supplemental insurance. It shouldn't be your main insurance unless you don't have any other insurance. It's not about taking Blue Cross, Blue Shield, or Kaiser out of the equation. It's about giving people who cannot afford insurance the ability to be able to get medical care under the coverage of California because we've all paid into it. Do you follow me? So then you work.
I guess the question it becomes is it's like, I know you want to get that money back to medical, but why not send that extra money back to the people that was taken from?
Because you can't, and nothing here, and you are in a way, but you're not in another. In a way, everybody will be able, you can't go back and say, I'm giving all this money back to people who paid because we don't know who really has and who hasn't. But what you can do is use that money to benefit everybody. Follow me? So you take that money and you put it in the slush fund. We work a deal with each hospital to get 3 wings of their hospital for people with this insurance, Medicare, Medi-Cal, California coverage, whatever you want to call it, right? And they get interns to basically man those wings so our labor rate is less than typical going through Medi-Cal, and you have all these high premiums you got to pay. What that also allows you to do is be able to, that will cut the cost of our medical, of our cost for the state to have medical for everybody to be able to do it. So the little bit that you pay in will all contribute. It's like everybody's contributing to the same healthcare system, right? Because we are anyways. But let's say that you go to your local doctor and God forbid you get hurt at work or you don't have a job for the 90 days. Instead of getting a COBRA for $1,200, you're covered under our plan, right? and you go to your local hospital and your doctor works with that hospital, your doctor will then see you even with our insurance. I don't want people to have to change their primary caregiver. What I want everybody to be able to get insurance and coverage that they deserve because we're all paying for it. So when you work a deal with the hospitals, you also work a deal with the pharmaceutical companies. Everybody knows that if you're on Medicare, Medi-Cal, your prescription drugs are a quarter or a fraction of what Kaiser, Blue Shield, insurance, their medical prescription drugs are, right? Just think about this. You have Kaiser, right? Let's just use Kaiser. You have Kaiser and you go there and they want for your prescription $500. And you say, well, I have this California insurance. Oh, because of that insurance paying for your medical prescription, it's only $10. What does that do? After a year and the big pharmaceutical companies taking a loss because nobody's buying their product, because everybody's using this, they will lower the prices to be competitive. So you get name brand at a lower price because now for them to continue doing business, they have to come down on their pricing, and we're almost forcing them to come down on their prices so they can be competitive in our state.
Well, so I understand the sentiment of medical benefits, or I'm sorry, I understand the sentiment to the benefits of medical. I get that, but who's to say that people won't abuse their medical coverage, when it comes to illegals and things like that? Because the citizen might have the medical, and the money goes back to medical, but who's to say they won't abuse that to help their family who's illegal? So when I say bringing back the money to the American people, why not have that money go back to the American people? And yes, you can also say, well, then the money go back to the people, and who can use it for their family who's illegal as well, right? And which would be a wrong thing to do, but the money goes back to the people. They can have, it could be money going back to them rather than the medical company that's kind of shifting who gets what.
Well, the medical company is not shifting who gets what. Everybody gets it. Because if you pay California state taxes, when you do your taxes at the end of the year, you get a medical card with either your return or what you owe the state for your taxes. So everybody will get medical in the state of California. We're all paying for it, so we should all get something in return. Now, I get what you're saying, pay back, but we don't know who's been here, who hasn't been here, who's actually paid real taxes or who hasn't. You have kids, and nothing against kids, okay? They turn 18 this year, and they pay taxes. Now, I take this money from these people, and I give those 18-year-olds that. They never paid for it. Do you see what I'm saying? But if you put it into a system that everybody will benefit, everybody gets back their portion in a roundabout way. It's about giving back and making California better. Not about saying, oh, I got to give these people back all this money that these people are paying. It goes back into the pot, but we use it for a specific reason. Medical is one of the hardest things and the most expensive things in California.
The 18-year-old would be going back to the families, right? Not the individual, it would be the families, right?
You'd have to go back and say this person, that person, and the state will not, they're just not able to do that. It's funny how the state works because they have 40 million people in the state of California, right? How many of those people actually pay? So,
But then as governor, couldn't you make it to where the families get back their money rather than it going back to the?
This has been going on for generations. So trying to give back money, like what you're saying, it's almost impossible to do. But if you put it into a program where everybody benefits from it, then everybody actually gets their money back. It's like an investment because that money's gone anyways. But now you're getting it back in a different format where it helps you and your family along. Now, some people are saying they could do insurance camps, they can do this. Well, not really, because we're going to cover people. You have veterans out there. Okay, we could always say the money could go back to our veterans because for them is why we're free and able to do this too, right? It's about shifting the money to where it best benefits the state of California and the California people who have paid for it for so many years.
So if it goes back to if the money goes back into medical, does you say helps out everyone? That also includes the veterans?
Yes, because our veterans are screwed right now. The VA was set up to help them, and a lot of the VAs do a great job. But there's VAs that are so backed up with medical procedures for our veterans that they have to wait months before they get the the surgery that they needed, or they have to wait months before they get those glasses or something that they needed because they're so backlogged, right? I hear about guys going from Modesto to Petaluma to the VA, then having to wait 6 more weeks and going back, and then having to wait 3 months before they get that operation. Look at it this way. Once this whole thing works out, a veteran could walk into, let's say you go to the VA. The VA says, yeah, you know what, Julius, you really need that shoulder surgery, but we're so backed up, we won't be able to get back to you for 4 months, right? The VA will give you a letter. You will go to your local hospital and it will get taken care of that day, that week. The next operation room will be yours. Veterans should get number one health care out of anybody. They should be taken care of. We have housing issues with veterans too. We have veterans sleeping outside the VA in LA. In West LA, they're sleeping outside of the VA on the ground. There's a guy by the name of Robert who spent $250 for tents out of his own pocket. He's been trying to fundraise and get these guys tents so they can sleep in because our veterans are sleeping outside. All this will help everybody in California, but our veterans need to be top priority. Their medical, their housing, their food. Our veterans need to have a place to go when they come back. You have so many different organizations out there trying to help veterans, right? Yeah, the problem just seems to get bigger. And the problem gets to be more locally known. There's programs out there that veterans don't know about. A lot of veterans like to go out and stay on their own because they don't want to deal with all the stuff anymore. They can't because mentally they're just not able to anymore because of what they've seen overseas. We have to be able to provide them services to be able to take care of them. One program that we were talking about with our veterans is being able to go back to the military bases when they get back in a different section where barracks, they help us upkeep them. They help us make them. And we give them the counseling that they need. We try to help them with their drug and alcohol problems because a lot of our veterans have alcohol problems and drug problems because they're trying to hide everything that they have seen or they have lived through. Our veterans need to be taken care of, and it's a shame what has happened. On the 4th of July, I had the honor of going to the American Vietnamese Memorial in Los Angeles. American soldiers, Vietnamese soldiers, Korean soldiers, they were all there. They were all present. It's a memorial for the Vietnam era, but it's also a memorial to remember the wars that we have lived and to honor all the veterans. Even though it's kind of funny because it's in Little Saigon, but it's actually for everybody. I was talking to a guy by the name of Bulldog, and he tells me, did you know there's a Hispanic Vietnam War memorial? I said, no, I never heard of it. He's all, you know why? It's in East LA. And he showed me pictures of it. It's a shame how that looks. There's garbage everywhere. The county hasn't kept it up. The state hasn't kept it up. How do we honor our veterans if even their memorials we can't keep up? So we're making a plan to go over there and we're going to clean it up. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to get some trash bags. I'm going to clean it up because our veterans deserve respect. And our Vietnam era veterans deserve it more than anybody because they were the worst treated when they came back to the United States. You look at our history. You look at what happened. And you're like, man, these men and women went and did what their country asked them to do. Yeah, we don't treat them right when they get back.
Yeah.
And those are guys that could be our dads. Some of them are our dads that hear a car backfire and they're under the table. I worked with the guy when I worked at the lumber mill. And there's a planer. Basically what it does is sands down the wood and it comes down a chain and people are pulling it out of the chain, stacking it. One board got stuck and you heard this big pop and the guy went underneath the chain, crawled up in a fetus. Grown-ass man. And he had to go home that day because his head was somewhere else. He was a Vietnam vet. He did 3 tours in Vietnam. That's just one example that I know about. So those people need to get taken care of. And you have not heard contenders for the governmentship talk about our veterans. They don't take them serious. You haven't seen them go out and talk to veterans. You haven't seen them go to the veterans' places and see what they're going through. The worst part about people running for office, that they don't care about the regular people. And what I mean by that is you don't see them with normal people. When was the last time that you saw a politician out there at a truck rally? or even a Trump rally? Those running for government. How many did you see out there standing in the recall and hoping that this recall would happen? Or even any rally. How many places have you been that a politician shows up or a guy running for office shows up, does a speech, and leaves right away? Before you turn around, they're gone. They don't stay and talk to us. They say their nice little 10-second speech. They tell us everything great that they're going to do. And when you go ask them questions, they're nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
That's what separates me from everybody else. I'm usually the first one there, and I'm usually the last one to go home. And I'll talk to anybody anywhere. I don't care what party you're with. I think both parties have failed us, and you heard me say that a million times. I appreciate being on the interview last night. I appreciate Anonymity putting me on at the last minute. I really do. I thought it was a great interview with me and him. I think he has some really good questions. I'm looking forward to actually doing it with him a little bit when I'm more, where I don't have a million things going on in my company and stuff like that. I had a phone call. I was watching the show and then I had to get off because I had a phone call about work. And then I hopped back on and I hear all this. I'm like, hey, I'm here. Oh, come on. I don't have nothing to hide. I'll tell you who I'm about. But I enjoyed the conversation with him. I thought he's a great guy, and I'd love to go back on his show whenever. He can ask me the tough questions. That's one thing about me. Ask me whatever you want. We talked a little bit about subjects that people are uncomfortable about, but I'll tell you where I feel, and I'll tell you why I feel that way.
He's definitely one of a kind, and I always do. I met him personally, so he's a really cool dude, and he has a lot of insight on what's happening just between the left and the right. I actually have to get going because I'm watering my grass right now. It's been kind of over an hour, so I gotta go get that. But I appreciate you having me on. That's why I wanted to ask these questions so that people who may be following me who don't know you can get a more clear, perspective of where you stand on being governor of California. So I appreciate that 100%. God bless you and God bless your family. I will see you soon or next time.
Hey, real quick, Julius, there's a debate in Orange County on the 15th, July 15th. If anybody's out that way, they need to come out. They need to know who's running. They need to know where everybody stands. Now, July 17th is a Saturday. We're going back to Corona, to the same place where we debated last time.
Okay.
If you want to come out.
Real quick, I wish I can, but right now I haven't been working at all. So, long story short, I had a vehicle I was using for Lyft, which was getting me around. But when I was trying to pay my rent the day, because I was overdue, my card wouldn't go through. And so I couldn't do anything to pay for it. And I was on Repo's watch. So if I drive anywhere, Repo gets me, it'll be over. So I can't do anything. So I can't make it to much stuff until I'm going through a legal process right now. And if that goes through, then I can go anywhere and everywhere I want.
Well, I tell you what, Julius, I'm driving on the 17th. You're welcome to ride along. I have enough room.
I'm down.
So
down. The thing is, though, I gotta use my Instagram Live to film it because I'm suspended on Facebook for like 20 more days. So
I'll give you one of mine. You could use one of mine. I don't care. I just want people to know what's going on. I know you're honest, and everything since I've known you, you're down the middle, and I like that about you. You ask the tough questions.
I probably lean more right, but I'm lean more right, but okay, this is what I always say. Even though I lean more right, I'm willing to hear the other side of the argument so that I can understand your perspective so we can have an actual conversation and not just you throwing rhetoric, me throwing rhetoric, and then we're not getting nowhere. I want to actually hear your side to know if what you're saying makes sense or if I can say, hey, that's wrong, or I agree or disagree. So I'm a little more right, but I'm down the middle when it comes to conversations.
And that's what I like about you. You actually listen. And I've watched your show, and I was like, okay, he's saying this from this side, but he's saying this from this perspective, which I appreciate. So if you want to come, you're more than welcome to ride with me. I'm driving. I got plenty of room. Somebody made a comment about Max, and I think that Max is young. He's 16, but he's a really smart kid. And people say, oh, you talk and you have them on your lives. You know why? Because those are our future. And if we can actually...
that kills me when people get on Max about that. But yeah, we talk about save the children. Oh my God, the children. But then Max comes on and outsmarts everybody, and it's like, whoa, this kid's too young. He's too young. I'm I'm like, well, what happened to Save the Children?
Right?
He's supposed to be smart like this. He's smart for a reason. He knows his stuff. He reads his book. You don't, and you're hating because you're being outdone by somebody who's younger than you. You should be appreciative to that. Learn from that. Don't hate on that.
Well, there's kids over in Bakersfield that I talk to sometimes too that are really smart about politics. And to me, I'm fairly young in the politic game, but if I can help one of these kids get to where they want to be, man, they're our future. And you watch how these kids just talk sometimes, you're like, I'm having a better conversation with you than I do with 40-year-old adults because they don't have a clue what's going on. You know, so I just kind of wanted to say to everybody out there, if a kid comes up and wants to talk about politics, wants to talk about something, they're our future. We need to actually open up and have sessions with these kids, these young Republicans, these young Democrat kids, because they are our future. They're what's leading us into the next century, and we should all actually embrace these kids wanting to get involved. I have a friend of mine said, wouldn't it be nice, nothing against Max here, okay? Wouldn't it be nice if that was your son that was acting like that? Not some strange kid that you just met? You know, and you sit there and think like, man, I don't have these conversations with two of my kids. One of my kids, yeah, and you met her. We have these conversations, but to actually say my other 2, 3 kids, they be lost. And yet you find these other kids somewhere else that are just in tune with what's going on and they're on point. They actually know policy. They actually know law. You're like, where do these kids come from? Right? Yeah. So I actually enjoy talking to everybody. So if you guys are ever out there, you guys see me, come out and talk to me. I think both parties have failed us. I talked about the Republican Party last night, where I think they made a mistake, where I think that we need to change. But, you know, you look at the Democrat Party, they got changes to do too. But Julius, it was a pleasure having you on today, brother. You are welcome all the time. Ask questions, have all your friends ask more questions. Please like and share my videos. It's time for me to get out off the live. I've been on for over an hour today. And it always makes it interesting when I have somebody like you come on, because then we have a lot to talk about and a lot that we can keep going on. So thank you. Thank you, everybody out there. Diego Martinez, candidate for governor of California. I'll see you guys next week. Find me on diegoforgovernor.com. And if you feel it in you, please donate to our cause to making California a better place for the California people. Please hit the donate button. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for joining us. See you guys later.
Thank you. God bless.